All right, I think we're getting started here. Gonna be having Philly 500 join me shortly. He is a little bit late getting back home from whatever he's got going on, but he's gonna join me shortly. And I'm not sure about Joey. I heard from him earlier this week. Have not heard back as of the past couple of hours. So we're gonna find out. If it's not, just me and 500. If not, it'll just be me. We'll hang out, we'll chat, answer your guys' questions, and get ready for what is going to be a really fun weekend. I'm very excited for this weekend. I cannot wait. It's felt like a while since we've had a real meaningful playoff game. And that's not to say that the Bucks playoff game last year wasn't meaningful. It was, but you kind of knew Philadelphia wasn't going to go win a Super Bowl, right? That was kind of the whole big thought process. Last season, it was just, hey, maybe they can win one game, go on the road and beat the Bucks, but odds are they weren't going to do it. And they got blown out, and that was it. This game feels way different. This feels like 2017 all over again, and that's a really good thing. So again, gonna have Philly 500 join me in just a little bit. You guys go ahead and come on in. Thumbs up button. We'll see who wants to hang out and chat. We'll answer a bunch of questions. Get you guys ready for Saturday. It's going to be a fun evening again. And again, I'm going to keep saying this, but I expect 500 to join us shortly. And then we'll see about Joey. I think we're in a group chat. We'll see if Joey's going to go ahead and join. If not, no worries. It'll be me and 500, but 500 said he'll be on in probably 5 more minutes. So let's hang out. We'll take questions to start, and then we'll get into some of the injury updates, and then we'll just hang out and have fun. Score prediction. I said score prediction every day on this show. I mean, pretty much the score prediction for me has been 31-17. I think Philadelphia rolls in this one. I know that we're all worried. The Giants, it's hard to beat a team 3 times in a row, and the Giants are hot. And, Daniel Jones looks really good. Ran for 700 yards this year. But I just don't buy into that. I think Philadelphia is a lot healthier than people are giving them credit. I think Jalen Hurts is going to look like MVP Jalen Hurts. I think they roll. I don't think this game's that close at all. And I think Bobby Gaines' comments really fair there. Had the Giants number all year, light work. I agree. We really have. I mean, come on. You can talk about, they had us in the Week 18 matchup. It was 19-0. It should have been a lot more than 19-0. I mean, the fact the Giants made it a little bit close there in the second half when Philadelphia was very clearly letting off the gas, to me, is absolutely ridiculous. So I think that they're going to absolutely roll. I think Maddox plays next week. I don't know. I don't think that he's as close as people realize. I think the Super Bowl week is a real chance because you got to think about it. He would have had, when did he hurt that toe? A couple of weeks. Then he has last week off. He'll have this week off because he's not going to play. He could have the NFC title game off. Another week, which is kind of, the 2 weeks before the Super Bowl, and then the Super Bowl. I think for sure the Super Bowl, but the odds of him coming back for the NFC title game to me are pretty slim. It's a quick turnaround. And I know Philadelphia has the luxury of playing on Saturday. Cowboys and 49ers play on Sunday. And so technically you get an extra day, but it's a really fast week going from divisional round to NFC title game week. And so I'd be surprised if Maddox does play. And we'll talk about this with Philly 500 here in just 1 second. C.J. Gardner-Johnson is going to play the nickel, and when they're in base packages, he's going to go ahead and be the main safety. So I think they're going to be fine without Avonte Maddox. Maddox is really good, don't get me wrong, but I think they're going to be just fine. If we went to the Super Bowl, would you go? I've looked at it. The Super Bowl tickets are very expensive. So I will be at the game on Saturday. I've said that on the show all week. You guys already know that. I'll be at the game on Saturday. I'm trying to go to the NFC title game. If Philadelphia goes to the NFC title game, I have a buddy who would go with me. And so that's potentially going to the NFC title game. The problem is the ticket price difference between the NFC title game in Philadelphia, so you're around, 70,000 of your closest friends, to Super Bowl tickets, it's about a $3,500 difference, $3,500 difference between the same exact seat at the Super Bowl and the same exact seat at the link for the NFC title game. So I would love to go to the Super Bowl, but it's a lot of money. It's not cheap. Plus, you got to fly there and you got to find a place to stay. It's not cheap. Let's see. Yeah, ticket prices are insane. I know. Honestly, the divisional round is not that bad. I know. I mean, it's not cheap, but I was surprised the divisional round wasn't a little bit more expensive than what it actually was. NFC title game, it's not too bad. We'll see if I can make it down there. I don't know. You seem so calm on here when you go to the games. You get as hype as Philly gets. I do. So I actually am going to be live streaming myself at the game. So that's kind of the whole plan. I don't get to do a lot of live streams of me watching football games because I stream all the games on DirecTV, Sunday Ticket, for instance, and there's always a really bad delay. And so I've never really, gotten it to where you guys can watch with me at the same time because I'm like 20 seconds behind you guys. So the fact I'll be at the game, I'm going to be live streaming it. And so we're going to show you guys just how fun I can be during Eagles game because it gets pretty nuts. I'm not going to lie. I'm obviously an Eagles fan. Like, everybody understands that, but I am a very, very passionate Eagle fan when it comes to these sort of games, especially a game this big. It's going to be a lot of fun. For those of you guys waiting on Philly 500, he's coming shortly, is what I was told. Probably any second. We'll throw him on the stream. And then I have not heard from Joey, actually. So we had talked about doing this on Thursday night. I have not heard back. We'll see if he comes. Honestly, I don't know. Let's see here. A lot of questions. What are your thoughts on the third match with the Giants? I think we win by a couple scores, says DJ. I totally agree. If you just missed it, you just joined in here. I think Philadelphia is going to be just fine. The one fear is Jonathan Gannon having kind of a bad Jonathan Gannon game, but he's had a week and a half to think about the Giants. And I really believe they probably thought it was going to be the Giants just because we all understand the Vikings weren't that great. And so I really feel like Gannon has had 2 weeks to sit back and think about what's gone wrong in a couple of these games, because Gannon's done a good job. I know we hate on him. Every Eagle fan hates on Jonathan Gannon to some degree, but he has done a good job against mediocre quarterbacks. And Daniel Jones is a mediocre quarterback. He's not playing Dak Prescott. He's not playing, I'm trying to think of good quarterbacks here. Aaron Rodgers. He's not playing any of the better quarterbacks in the NFC or the AFC. He's playing a mediocre one. And so I think Gannon does a good job. City Family, he is a member. All right, Thomas, where's the two big boys? Waiting on him. Philly 500 for sure is coming shortly. They're coming. I know I got to keep saying this because you guys keep joining. They're coming. 500 is coming. Have not heard from Joey. Might not have Joey tonight, even though we talked about it earlier this week, but we for sure have Philly 500 coming in the next couple of minutes. So sit tight. Just bear with just me. Philly 500 is coming, and then we're really going to get into what we're going to do for the next, hour or whatever. So I will say that again. Let me just type it again. Philly 500 is coming shortly. I can't spell shortly. Okay, ignore that. There you go. Any second, he's going to pop into the stream. Giants attacking middle of the field. Gannon has done a good job, but he has been outcoached. He has been outcoached at times, but I think he's going to be. I would not be shocked if Philadelphia jumps out to a massive lead, and this game is pretty ugly by the fourth quarter, as in Philadelphia's rolling. It wouldn't shock me. Do you know Lord Brunson? I do know Lord Brunson. I've done a show with Lord Brunson before. He's going to be at the game, I think. I don't know. Excuse me. It'd be fun to link up with him, but yeah, I do. I've had him on in the past. Okay, not sure on Joey here, but 500 is getting on shortly, so we will see what's happening. Sup, Thomas? National media is wild about the Giants, aren't they? They are a little bit wild. I mean, I don't know what exactly it is. What is the reason why we're so hyped on the Giants, aka we as the national media? One, they did win last week, right? And they've been playing good football. Okay, that's fair. But this whole idea that Hurts is so injured that he's just gonna, look terrible on Saturday night, to me is ridiculous. I think Hurts is gonna look exactly the same. I think Hurts is gonna look exactly the same as he has all year long and play really, really well. I feel very confident about that. Let's see here. If we lose to Jonathan Gannon, need to be fired. It would depend on how we lose. If it's 20-17 and we lose, that's not really on Gannon, is it? Plus, he's probably going to be the Texans head coach. I'd be shocked if Jonathan Gannon is not the Texans head coach. Lord Bronson said he'll be at the game. There you go. Maybe we'll link up. I'm not sure where he's sitting, though. I'm in section 223. I'm sitting a little high. Okay. I mean, tickets are expensive here, right? With my parents, it's my gift to my mom for her Christmas. And so, I decided between either sitting lower, but kind of in the corner of the end zone, or sitting higher and sitting at like the 40-yard line. And since it's a big game, I wanted to be able to see the whole field and interact with the whole field. And so that's why I went with the higher seats. They were the same price. Like the seats where I'm sitting in 223 were the exact same price as 117, where it's like that back corner, the exact same price. Again, if you're just joining us, we're waiting on Philly 500. He's coming. I'm not sure if Joey's going to make it tonight, but we for sure are getting 500 any minute now. Trust me, any minute he's going to join. Okay, I promise. Let's see here. I'll just keep answering questions, and then we'll get into the actual part of the show. Why does everybody think Gannon is out coach all the time? This is why he's getting head coaching interviews. Yeah, we're just fans, and so we can only know so much. And I'm sure there are plenty of times where Gannon is calling the right play and Philadelphia just isn't executing, and we rip Gannon for it. But obviously, the Texans love him. They've interviewed him 3 times in the past 13 months. I'd be shocked if he's not a Texan. Bad Monkey. Bad Monkey's throwing out some Giants love over here. Okay. I don't get the Daniel Jones hype. He had one good game. He really did. The Giants are really interesting with how much love the national media is giving to them. Let me show you guys this. Let me just pop it up right here. But how much love the national media, which is the best one? Let's see. How about that? With how much love the national media, is giving the Giants. You could go back through their past couple of games. It's not like they're on some 10-game winning streak like or 11-game winning streak like the 49ers are on. Okay, they lost to us. Yes, they were resting starters. And yes, they did beat the Colts. Like, congratulations. You beat one of the worst teams in football before us. They lost to the Vikings. I know it was a game-winning field goal. Still an L. They beat the Commanders. Okay, great. Got killed by us. Tied, lost to the Cowboys, lost to the Lions, and beat the Texans by 1 score. Like, it's just a little bit ridiculous saying that the Giants are the super hot football team. And actually, speaking of which, I think Philly 500 is ready to go. I see him. I'm going to add I think I can add him on. Let's see. 500, are you there?
Yo! Thanks for having me on. I'm sorry.
Hey, man.
I just got back from work. It's always tough to gauge exactly what time I can get out.
Not a problem. I appreciate you jumping on here after work. What's up, man?
Nothing, man. Just ready for this football game. 2 days away?
Has this felt like the longest week? This has felt like the longest week. It takes forever to get to this game.
It feels really like it's been 2 more weeks since we last watched any football. And they're playing Saturday. They're not even playing Sunday, so it's actually a day less. But it feels like, it's crazy.
This feels like the interim between the NFC title game in 2017 and the Super Bowl. That 2 weeks waiting for the Super Bowl is like some of the worst 2 weeks because there's only so much to talk about. I think we've all done this on our shows this past week talking about the Giants. Like, there's not much more to say. I've been saying this for the past 10 minutes as we've been, getting the show started. A lot of people asking the question, "How are you scared of the Giants? How do you feel about the Giants?" I don't know how you feel. I don't see where all this hype on the Giants is coming from. I respect them. Anything can happen. It's a divisional round game. Blah 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 blah. Philadelphia should kill them. Like, Philadelphia should win by double digits. This shouldn't be close. And I don't think we're crazy to think that, despite the fact we're all wearing Eagles gear.
Yeah. I'm not scared of the Giants at all. It's at home. I do think it's going to be a tough game. It's a close game. I think it'll be typical NFC East football. But I think the Eagles are the better team all around. I mean, they're 7.5-point favorites. But if you listen to the national media, ESPN, you would think the Eagles are 7.5-point underdogs. Like, I got to the point where I couldn't listen to national media anymore because it just seemed like, to me, it's like you'd think we were the 6th seed.
The funniest storyline out of all the national media really loving in on the Giants is this whole idea that Philadelphia is going to be rusty because they had a bye week, whereas the Giants, they weren't rusty after basically having a bye week versus us. Like, we're going to be the rusty ones, but they, even though they rested week 18, not going to be rusty at all. Doesn't make any sense.
No,
doesn't make any sense.
It pisses me off too because I was watching NFL Network. I think it was NFL Network, and they talked about the Eagles. They go to commercial talking about the Eagles being rested in the bye week, and they come back and start talking about the Chiefs and how the Chiefs are going to be well rested because of bye week and how great it is. Oh, get the hell out of here, Oh, man, it pisses me off.
I do think if Philly rolls on Saturday night, like let's say they win 31-17, 31-21, Hurts looks really good, I think the hype immediately comes back on. I think it switches very, very quickly, especially if Dallas pulls the upset off on the 49ers because, and we can get into San Francisco in a little bit here, but the 49ers are the media darling right now. Brock Purdy has completely encapsulated the national media right now. They think he's the second coming of Tom Brady, but better. And we've talked about it. He's playing really good, but it's much like with the Giants. Who are they beating over the past couple of weeks? I showed this just before you hopped on. I was talking about this. The Giants' schedule over the past couple of weeks. There isn't any sort of impressive wins. They lose to us. This was 19-0, by the way, at halftime. It's not like it was actually close the entire day. Philadelphia took the, pedal off of the gas just a little bit. Then they beat the Colts. Congratulations. That's a nothing burger. They lost to the Vikings. It was close, but they still lost. They beat the Commanders by 1 score, got absolutely obliterated by us, tied the Commanders, lost to the Cowboys, and lost to the Lions. It's not like they're on some 11-game winning streak where they just can't lose. They've lost a bunch of games. They just played pretty well against the Vikings, and so people are very excited. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I had them beating the Vikings, so it was not a surprise to me, and it wasn't a surprise to me that with, what was it, like 4th and 8, Kirk Cousins throws a 2-yard pass.
Gosh.
I knew that was going to happen. I think the Giants, listen, I think they're well coached. I like the ball. I like everything they've done. I will say this, though. I think that if the Eagles are vulnerable in one of the next 2 games, it's this game. Because I
Really?
feel like if they win this game, I feel like whoever goes into that NFC Championship game is going into a buzzsaw. Like, that's such a tough spot for Dallas or San Francisco. I feel like this is their chance. Almost like 2017 in the Atlanta game, right, compared to the Minnesota game. That's kind of how I see it.
I didn't even think about that, but that 2017 game, we always focused in on the Viking NFC title game and how many points we scored there in the Super Bowl. That was like a slugfest against Atlanta, and it came down to Nick Foles not being intercepted going into halftime when he threw that terrible pass and it doinked off the knee of whoever was Keanu Neal or whatever, and then of course the Julio Jones play. That's a great point, because then you get to the NFC title game. The link is absolutely nuts. And if you're San Francisco, you're flying across the country. It's a 3-hour time difference. It's what's the difference between you and me right now in terms of you in California and me in Atlanta. It's crazy. Do they fly in early? Do they try to adjust? Brock Purdy pressure. You make a good point there. I do think that this is probably it. And if they do, then they're going to the Super Bowl. How about that?
That's what I feel. That's what I feel. It's going to be an interesting game.
I want to quickly move over here to the final injury report. I think we both did shows on this the other day. They've given us injury reports every day, as they always do, and there's a new thing every single time. The latest thing that's happening right now in terms of the injury report is that Avonte Maddox is officially out, which should shock absolutely nobody. No one in this live stream is going to be shocked that Maddox is out. But they didn't put him on injury reserve, Bleeding Green Nation says, and so maybe he can come back for the Super Bowl or the NFC title game. We will see. And then, of course, they talk about Gardner Johnson being in the slot. No shocker there. Everybody else is going to play. In terms of the Giants, everyone's going to play for them. A little bit more banged up, I'd say, than Philadelphia. I mean, talk about a couple of these guys who are dealing with some lower body injuries. Azeez Ojulari, their pass rusher, he's probably going to be on a pitch count based on everything I've heard with the quad injury. But both these teams are very healthy. Besides Maddox being out, which official they did, these are two very healthy football teams.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, for the most part, it's going to be real interesting to see how Lane Johnson plays through the pain, because I think that's a big deal. If he can play at a high level, this offensive line is just so much better when he's on the field.
I think we're going to find out really quick if he's going to be able to play or not. I would be if he can't play, it'll be like one series and he'll be like, guys, I can't do this, and they'll walk out Driscoll.
He'll pull Jason Peters. That's what Peters does. Like,
what was
one
he doing?
Series out 5, then he comes back in.
Is he hurt, or is he just doing what Jason Peters does?
Who, Lane?
No. Peters, in terms of the Cowboy game, because he like tapped himself out. I don't know what's going on.
I don't know. He used to do that. He used to do that with us. It used to drive me up a wall the last few years, because I'm like, is he tired or is he hurt, or like, because then he'll come back like 3 series later.
I'm fine. It's okay, and then he gets hurt again. I think he's probably the one Eagles legend, because I would consider him, past 15 years, like a true Eagles legend who most Eagle fans have gotten away from. And it was almost before he went to the Dallas Cowboys. We all were kind of like, dude, you're getting hurt too much. You got to hang it up. And I think we also appreciate him. But I think he's that one Eagle legend who we all kind of are like, we're kind of done with that. Like, Dawkins went to Denver, and we obviously still love Brian Dawkins. And I know he went to the Dallas Cowboys with Jason Peters, but still, it's like, I think he's the one that kind of, in terms of Eagle fans have kind of moved off of.
Yeah, he's just so many years. I mean, Dawkins went to Denver. I think he had a Pro Bowl year the following year. Like Jason Peters should have retired 2-3 years ago. Let's face it. So I think that's why we're kind of just like, yeah, whatever, dude. You're a little past your prime.
Let's see one of the questions. Julio Jones is one of my favorite players. After dropping that pass, I know. Talk about a guy who's really fallen off a cliff. That guy is absolutely nowhere near what he was at one point.
Yeah.
And it fell really hard, really fast.
Yeah, that happens to some guys, man. It's like 1 year later, everything changes. Other guys, it's gradual. Look at Peyton Manning. Peyton Manning set like touchdown pass records. The next year, he looked like his arm was shot.
Yeah.
So it happens quick sometimes.
John Sinatra says, "You see the hype video today?" I did see the hype video. It was good. It wasn't like the most hyped Eagles hype video of all time. It's not bad. I don't want to rip on him. I mean, I didn't think it was trash, but I wasn't just like screaming out my phone watching it on Twitter today.
I didn't see it. It was a long day today. No, I gotta kind of catch up, because
you got to decompress a little bit.
Yeah,
it wasn't anything crazy, honestly. This whole it's a Philly thing. I'm not from Philadelphia. You know, I haven't lived in Philadelphia, but I don't think do we say that it's a Philly thing? Is
I don't.
think
I
so.
don't know what they're talking. What's the Philly thing? I guess.
It's
But
like they're new
to
here.
me, it's a Philly thing. Let's beat that. Let's beat their ass. That's a Philly thing.
That's a Philly thing. I agree.
Let's blitz. That's a Philly thing.
You think they're going to? Let's talk about Daniel Jones running for a second,
do.
because this is fascinating to me. I mean, everybody, you talk about national media, Daniel Jones running the football, did it a bunch against the Vikings, 700 yards rushing. They utilized them very well. Have we played a quarterback this year that was really good running the football? The only one I can think of besides Daniel Jones, once, is Kyler Murray, and Kyler really didn't run around.
Justin Fields.
Oh,
Fields
yeah, you're right.
Run.
You're right.
I think we've given up a lot of yards, and then you had the New Orleans Saints game with what's his face,
15 for 95 for Fields there, and then boy, I've just blotted out that Saints game from my memory. I didn't even remember that.
Oh god,
Ethan had 14 for 46 on that one, and then I don't think Kyler did much in that one. That was so long ago. What did Kyler do? No. Kyler was 4 for 42. So really, it was just Justin Fields, and I would put Justin Fields on a much different rushing level than Daniel Jones. I think they utilize him well, but that goes to the question of how does Gannon play this in terms of a defensive, scheming?
Well, that's
it's a lot more.
I had a video on this today because I call it the Jonathan Gannon theory, because all season long I've been told, get Jonathan Gannon to the playoffs, and then he's going to unleash an aggressive defense. And I've been hearing it all year. I want to see it happen. But I do think that they need to be careful how they play Daniel Jones, because I thought in that Minnesota game, I thought that was his best game of his career. His decision-making on when to go was really good. And Minnesota doesn't like to blitz. Sometimes they play that like soft blanket like us. And I think if we play that way, we're going to get killed. I think you need to let Slay and Bradbury play man-to-man on these receivers. Maybe you want to spy Jones, and then I say you got to go at him a little bit more, because if you play the way Minnesota played last week, he's going to do the same thing, and I think that will be a problem. I don't want to see 3rd and 8 Daniel Jones converts with his feet. I think you got to challenge those receivers, play a man, and I kind of feel like we are going to see a little bit different defense. I have a feeling, maybe I've heard this enough, I kind of believe that Gannon's going to unleash this defense a little bit. I do. It's
a crazy thought process to think that a defensive coordinator would hold it all off for the playoffs. But with the way the Eagles season went, you could totally see him being like, when they got to 9 wins, going, hey, I can totally put this in just chill mode because we're going to be the number 1 seed, and then we'll bring it all out for the playoffs. I can see it. I mean, I hope you're right, honestly, because if it is 3rd and 8 and Daniel Jones runs like crazy, we're going to be, pulling all the hair off of our head. It's going to be crazy.
The thing is with Gannon is that, like, and people always want to tell me his statistics. Look at the defensive statistics. Look at the stats. And I always say this: if he was more consistent and be aggressive earlier and longer, the statistics would have been even better. Because he even admitted, if I didn't play Hassan Reddick in pass coverage as much, he would have 25 sacks. He said that. To me, that's crazy. Admit.
It's like, it's not like Hassan Reddick's this great guy in pass coverage, right? He does it when he has to, and that's it.
Yeah, give me the 25 sacks.
Tricky says, I love the Eagles. If you say the Cowboys are bad, I will give you $5. Okay, the Cowboys are bad. There you go. We'll see if that happens. Nobody wanted T.Y. Hilton. That's why he was available. T.Y.'s been okay. He's been at least serviceable overall in terms of.
Yeah, we had one play.
3rd and 30. 3rd and 30.
But
Weapon X says, "Where's Joey?" I don't think Joey's going to make it. I haven't heard from him.
I haven't. I thought he was. I thought last week we said that we were all doing it, so I thought he was going to be here. I haven't talked to him though. So
maybe we win. We do it all next week. You never know. You never know how it works.
Yep.
There's someone in here who's a Cowboy fan. They said T.Y. Hilton's better than Devontae Smith. Okay, that's funny. Eagles will win the New York Giants.
Go do some more drugs.
Sydney family says run the ball and use Goddard more. That's the big key here. I could see Goddard going absolutely crazy. That was the one part of the Viking offense that worked really well. I can't seem to figure out, going back and watching the highlights, if they just did such a good job on Justin Jefferson, or if the Vikings just were content with not forcing the ball to Justin Jefferson last week and just going with Hawkinson, because Hawkinson balled out. But the idea that the corners of the Giants were good enough to lock down Justin Jefferson, to me, blows my mind. I'm just not buying that. I just don't buy it.
I was told Adoree Jackson's better than Darius Slay.
Or you told
and James Bradbury this week, yeah. And he's going to shut down A.J. Brown. And my answer is this. Okay, he shuts down A.J. Brown. Who's gonna deal with Devontae Smith? How are you going to stop Devontae Smith? So good luck with that.
Yeah, we'll see how that goes. Isaiah Hodgins, fascinating to me. Him and Slayton have been they've been decent. I mean, what Hodgins was 8 for a buck for 105 last week.
Yeah, he's been good.
I don't see how Slay doesn't work him. I don't see how Bradbury had kind of a quiet couple of games against the Giants this year. Didn't have a pick like we were all expecting. Maybe this is the Bradbury game where he absolutely, goes crazy.
I would love to see Bradbury pick 6 and seal this whole thing. That would be great.
Did you see Wink Martindale's comments on saying that Boston Scott was not the Giants killer? That was good.
Yep,
I really appreciate him saying that. That was really nice.
Yeah,
like
I have a prediction that he's going to have a kickoff return for a touchdown.
You think so?
I believe Paul Scott returns one for a touchdown. Yep.
When was the last time we had a kickoff return for a touchdown?
I want to say Wendell Smallwood is my guess.
How about that? I wonder if I can Google it.
I think versus Washington. I would say punt return would be regular, but I think Smallwood.
Last, what does this say? Got 1 touchdown, a kick return versus the Vikings on October 13th, 2016.
That was
I don't even
Sproles.
remember who that was.
That would have been.
This is someone just took on Josh Huff. Man, Josh Huff. Think about that. Back in 2017, forgot about
Josh
him.
Puff.
Oh my goodness gracious.
Well,
that's what it says here. Last kickoff return and a touchdown in the game was 10-23-2016. Doesn't say who it was.
I don't even remember that.
Can you imagine if Boston Scott did return one back for a touchdown at the Link? It's going to be crazy. It's going to be insane.
I feel like it's going to happen. That's Scott. That's one of my hot takes.
This is probably the one week where both of us would be fine with a couple of Boston Scott goal line carries. We're always so infuriated. At least I am. Whenever it's like whenever it's Kenneth Gainwell on 3rd down and 1. It's just Boston Scott. That's fine. Because a couple of big runs, 10, 20, 30 yards. Again, the crowd goes nuts. And we saw what happened back in 2017. When this crowd gets insane, it's like, it's a whole different experience. I don't think teams fully realize it. Like, there are a couple of really big stadiums in the National Football League that get pretty crazy. And it's like, whoa, this is a lot. You think about the Superdome. You think about the Chiefs place. The Link is very much underrated whenever it's cold outside. It's a big-time playoff game, and everyone is going absolutely nuts. And if you're Daniel Jones and you get behind, pick 6 then happens, strip sack from Reddick then happens, and this game just spirals out of control really quick, and it gets really ugly like the NFC title game did.
I could live with that. I could totally live with that.
Hey, here's a good comment. Brandon said, what's yours and Philly 500's favorite Eagles versus Giants moment? I'll go first. Favorite moment for me was the Michael Vick comeback with obviously the punt return from Deshaun Jackson. But I was living in Florida. I was watching at home, and I got so mad because we were losing that I stormed out of the room. And my mom got mad at me, and she was like, Thomas, you're such a bad fan. You're always getting so mad, blah, blah, blah. And then I remember her yelling from the other room saying, when Selleck scored that first touchdown, she said, Thomas, here they come. And I went back in, and we're still down 2 scores. I was like, Mom, we're not going to win this game. And then they scored again. And then I came back into the room and watched them go ahead and walk it off. That was my best memory. That was a lot of fun.
That would probably be my number one. But I'm going to give you a different one. Just to add. Back in the day, the Eagles, under Buddy Ryan, they needed, I think, the win to win the division. And they were playing the Giants in overtime. And they decided to kick a field goal on 3rd down. They kick the field goal. It gets blocked. Clyde Simmons picks up the ball and runs it in for a touchdown. The Eagles go to kick it. Giants block it. Clyde Simmons was blocking on offense for the field goal, picked it up and ran it in, and the Eagles won in overtime. That was the miracle that nobody talks about.
Yeah, see, I think I might have been too young for that one. I have no memory of that one.
Yeah.
No memory of that one. I'm trying to think back to some other ones here. I have it pulled up. I can't. It's hard to see.
I would say the Westbrook one where he basically saved the season.
What year was that? Really, 2006, 7?
I want to say 2000. No, God, I think it was I want to say 02, 03. something like that. I think.
I don't know. I didn't realize they had back-to-back overtime games in 2005 and then the start of 2006. How about that? I did not know that.
The Eagles beat them in overtime, I think, in the playoffs. It was a wild card round.
I think so too. Yep. Yeah, a lot of good matchups there. A lot of good
I
times.
remember that Deshaun punt return. That was the first time my father-in-law ever really heard me just lose it and just curse up a storm. He's like, "Who is this person?" Because I was so mad.
That's a good story. That's a really good story.
Yeah.
Someone just said Maddox update. We just said the Maddox update is that Maddox is out. He's officially out. He's not playing.
But they said he's moving around a little bit, so that's good.
Okay, I did not see that. That is good. Do you think he plays in the NFC title game? If you had to bet on it?
No.
Because I think he plays in the Super Bowl. I think because he has
Super Bowl
4 weeks from this weekend or 3.
Yeah, I think Super Bowl, but I don't know about NFC Championship game.
Yeah. Hey, Thomas Mott, who's your favorite Eagles player ever? My first ever Eagle jersey was Terrell Owens, actually, believe it or not, because I thought he was so much fun in 2004 or 2003. But my favorite player was Brian Westbrook. Massive Brian Westbrook fan. I've tried to get Brian Westbrook on my show so many times because I've hosted a couple radio shows with Hugh Douglas, and Douglas obviously played on the Westbrook teams. I've tried to get Brian Westbrook on the show, and for whatever reason, can't seem to get him. But he was easily my favorite Eagle of all time.
I met Brian Westbrook his rookie season.
Did you really?
It was I was living in Maryland. And Brian Mitchell had just left the Eagles to go to the Giants, but he was having some charity event. And I knew somebody that had extra ticket, and they were like, "You want to go?" So I went. And we're sitting there, and Brian Mitchell's making drinks and stuff. And Westbrook comes walking in. So I went over to him, and I was like, I think he had a great rookie year, blah, blah, blah. Talked to him for a minute. He was a real nice guy, real quiet at the time. That was his rookie year. And then McNabb was supposed to show up, and he didn't, and all the players were pissed off because he stood him up.
Right.
So it was kind of funny. But
I was supposed to go to a Michael Vick football camp back whenever I was in middle school, and it was like pitched as Michael Vick is going to be there. They had a couple other NFL players, like kind of some C-tier NFL players, but Vick was going to be at this camp. And I was a quarterback in middle school, and I was not very good. But I went for Vick. I bought a Vick jersey just to have him sign it. This was during his run as the Eagles, probably 2010, 2011. And we got there, and there were probably 300 kids at the camp, and they announced over the loudspeaker that Vick was not going to be there. And it was like, really, guys? Really? He's not going to be there? Like, he didn't even get on the flight. They said he didn't even, make the trip to come. And yet we all had already paid, so he stayed. I'm trying to think if I met any other Eagle players besides Hugh Douglas. I met Hugh. I don't think I have. I don't think I've met any other Eagle players in terms of when they were actually playing. I can't think of any. Cannot think of any.
There was quite a few players. There was that charity event it was half of them were Washington players and ex-Redskins and a lot of ex-Eagles. I met guys. I met Trotter once.
Really?
I mean not nothing big, but just got guys autograph.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think. When I was young, we used to go to camp when Reggie and Clyde and all those guys were there. So I got to see them. But as far as meet and spend time, Brian Mitchell and Westbrook were the two.
And Westbrook,
really.
I got to interview interviewed Jeremiah Trotter a year and a half ago, but it was on Atlanta radio because his son plays for Clemson, and it was something to do with Clemson in terms of interviewing him. So I didn't even get to ask. There was zero Eagle questions allowed. It was focusing on his son and Clemson. It was okay, so I've technically talked to him, but it does not count because it was a radio interview at all. At all.
I used to call G Cobb all the time on WIP.
Did you really?
Him all the time. Yeah. Yeah, I always used to call.
I think Hugh Douglas is starting at WIP soon. I think he's back up in Philadelphia right now. That was a big announcement
he was there before. Yeah. That's cool. I used to they used to have a round table. It would be it'd be Trotter, Hollis Thomas, him, and it would be interesting hearing the perspective of McNabb Owens and that whole debacle that went on there.
Yeah.
It's interesting the things they say about McNabb. Really is.
Do you think that they genuinely didn't like him? Is that kind of the vibe that you got?
No, I think they liked him, but from what it sounds like McNabb just did his own thing. He would go to Arizona in the off season. He would work out. He was always big about putting on weight and throwing. And the Eagles were like, no, we need you here working on your footwork, on your, on your fundamentals. And he didn't do it. So it sounds like as he got older in his career, just listening to them, it sounds like he got more alienated from the rest of the team, kind of. So
he would be a fascinating person to interview if you could actually have like an unfiltered McNabb interview, because there hasn't been many. I mean, he's one of those quarterbacks who was obviously fantastic his entire time in the league, and then no one even talks about him these days at all. I mean,
I know
Fox did a hit on him. It was him, Vic, and Hurts, middle of the season this year, and it was like, oh my gosh, that's right. It's like the first interview I've seen of Don McNabb in forever. They just don't talk about him. But I think having him unfiltered, getting him to really talk about that stuff would be really fun. It's very fun to do.
I would like to have a podcast with him and Terrell Owens on at the same time.
Have they ever been on at the same time since 2004?
I don't think so.
I don't think
no,
so.
I don't think so. No.
And it was Hugh Douglas that they had the altercation with, right? It was T.O. and Hugh Douglas.
I think you wasn't even. I don't think he was even playing for the team. He was the team ambassador. He wasn't even on the roster.
I've sat in, radio studios with Hugh Douglas for 4 hours at a time. I'm too scared to ask. It's like, no, I'm not going to ask that. I don't want to be that guy because I'm co-hosting, right? I don't want to be like, hey, Hugh, I'm a fan. Tell me all the fun stories.
I think Hugh Douglas. He's hilarious, dude. I like him.
Really good guy. I did meet Lane Johnson. Now that I think about it, I met Lane Johnson when I interned at First Things First in New York. He was right after the Super Bowl, so he came in and did like a hit, and I was an intern, and so it was like, don't be crazy. And I said, guys, can I please go get a picture with Lane Johnson? And they let me. Nice guy, massive. He's obviously huge, really nice guy. But that's it in terms of active players. Probably the only one. Philly 500. Where can I go get a cheesesteak when I come from the parade? I went to John's of South Philly when I was there for the Jaguar game. I think.
I'm a Tony Luke guy. I always say this.
Okay.
I like Tony Luke. I used to have to work up at the Naval Yard, and that's where I used to go all the time. Now, I'm not the biggest cheesesteak fan. I like them, but I like the roast pork sandwich. So nobody ever talks about the roast pork with the broccoli rabe. That's the best sandwich, dude.
Okay.
That's the best one. But I like Tony Luke's, but everybody has their own thing. I like Tony Luke, so.
Me and my roommate, because we went to do the Jags game, we didn't get lunch because we went to the Liberty Bell. And so it was like 3 in the afternoon. It was like, we've got to eat lunch. And so this is the day before the Eagle Jag game. We went down to John's of St. Luke, or John's of South Philly, goodness gracious. And it was so good, but we ate it so fast afterwards. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm going to die. It was the biggest cheesesteak I've ever had. Because the cheesesteaks in the stadium are really good. At the link in the stadium, I don't remember what they're called, but they're really, really good. But they're like smaller. I had one that, the one at John's was like that big, and it killed me. It was brutal.
John's really roast pork is great also. That is really, their roast pork sandwiches are good.
What position
now
do you guys think?
I'm getting all hungry.
I know, right? It's probably your dinner time back there in Cali. It's got to be close.
I know. Yeah, it's close.
Let's see here. What position do you guys think we should target in the draft? We talked about this before whenever we've gotten together. Corner is going to be fascinating to see what they do. Howie always loves pass rushers. And actually, Philly made a good point there about, I think last time, right tackle could be an option, depending on what Lane Johnson does. This injury could speed things up a little bit in terms of his retirement, because he's, 32 years old? He's getting up there. Not that I want him to, but you never know.
Yep. I think if there's a right tackle, it's got to be the right situation, but it's got to be a consideration.
The roast pork in the Reading Terminal was voted best sandwich in the U.S.
Terminal, yeah.
Reading.
That is the best. That may be the best roast pork one. I've had that before. Yes. Yeah.
Fat really Tuesdays has good cheesesteaks. Okay. Not had Fat Tuesday.
No.
Get a cheesesteak, must go to Tony Luke's or the In the Hood of South Philly and North Philly. Tony Luke's. Where is Tony Luke's in Philadelphia? I don't even know.
Tony Luke's is Oregon Avenue, I think, right off there. It's not far from the stadium.
Okay. So
I think they moved buildings since I last was there, but I don't know.
Really? I'm going to be at the game on Saturday, and I'm trying to decide what time to get to the game. I've never been to a home Eagles primetime game. I've been to like 1:00 kicks twice, and I went to Eagles Cowboys in 2000 and it was McNabb's last year, so 2010. But it was at the Cowboy game, so I didn't want to tailgate the Cowboy game. I think we're going to get there at like 4 for an 8:00 kick. I don't know what time to get there.
I don't. You can get there probably pretty early. Yeah,
I'm sure there'll be people there at like noon. But I want to get there that
yeah.
early, right? I mean, I got to have a little bit of
Yeah.
chill time before we, head on down. I think like 4 or
Yeah,
5, and then enough time.
Yeah, I don't know, dude. I haven't been out there so long. We used to get out there real early, but I haven't been out there so long. I don't know. I don't know what the rules are when they open the gates or anything.
Yeah, I don't either. I have absolutely no idea. We're just gonna play it by ear. Thomas Mott, location for Big Chris, as in like where I'm sitting, or I don't have a specific tailgate that I'm going to. I'm just gonna walk around. So if you guys have tailgates you want me to swing by, I'll swing by. Whatever you guys want. What do you want? Parking lot opens at 10 a.m. Jeez, there you go. Get started, huh?
Yeah.
They
The
changed
only
the
thing
name
is, it depends who you go with. Like I used to go with people who we would get there early, and before the game started, they'd be passing out.
Yeah,
like, dude, come on.
That's probably what's going to happen on Saturday. It's going to be
Right.
going to be crazy. I can't imagine being a Giants fan. I just wouldn't make the trip. It's just not worth it to me. It's not worth it to just be, verbally abused for 4.5 hours. Although I guess if the Giants were to win, it'd be pretty fun to watch all the Eagle fans, go home crying. But if I was a Giants fan, because I did it as an Eagle fan at the Cowboy Stadium, losing to them in the playoffs, and I was like 10. And they were brutal as I walked out of the stadium in my jersey. I mean, they obliterated me. I heard so many bad words. And I was like, guys, I'm a little kid. But Cowboy fans, what are you going to do?
I've never been to Dallas. I've been to the Giant. I've seen them
overrated
in Meadowlands. I've seen them in Washington. Never went to Dallas though.
Jerry World's a terrible stadium to watch a football game in. It's not because I hate the Cowboys. I watched Baylor games in there. It's too big. It's massive. Like the link is very compact and it's very, personal, I would say. Like you have a pretty good seat anywhere you're sitting.
Yeah.
Jerry World, there is no good seat at all. It's way too big. It's so long that if you're in one of the corners, you're like literally cannot see them going away from you. It's not good. You got to have like $1,000 seat just to even have a good chair overall.
Have you ever been to the Vet?
No, I was too young.
Oh, man, talk about oh boy, that was the worst.
I've heard.
It was so perfect.
Yeah.
Like it was so bad and nasty, but you wouldn't want it any other way because it was intimidating. Just don't have to go to the bath. Don't go to the bathroom. You'll never get to. It was the worst. It was the worst trying to hold it in, man.
That's what I've heard.
I hated that.
That's what I heard. The link is great though. I think that I've been to a couple of NFL stadiums. The link does do a very good job. I think it's a really good experience overall. And the fact that I get to
I like the link.
It's going to be a night game. It's going to be crazy. It's going to be fun. I'm looking forward to it. I do want to quickly look here at the playoff picture elsewhere because we do have 3 other games that are going on, and we can mention. Here quickly. Will Stan says upper level seats at the link are even pretty good. Yeah, that's where I'm sitting. I'm upper level for this one, but I'm upper level middle, so I'll get to see it pretty well. I figure it's gonna be fine. Yeah. Cowboys and 49ers. I really think Dallas has a shot. I think the Dallas Cowboys played so well against the Bucs, and I know it was the Bucs, but if you get that Dak Prescott, which is the same Dak Prescott that they got against us whenever they beat us, it was against Gardner Minshew, but he was dealing pretty well. If that's the Dak that shows up, they can beat San Francisco. But the question will always be, can you get that Dak Prescott consistently, and aka 2 weekends in a row? I'm just not sure if you can.
Well, I gotta. There's a couple things because I don't know why people act like Dallas beating Tampa was some big shock. I mean, Tampa Bay stunk, and they stunk all year. It wasn't a surprise to me. As far as the Cowboys with Niners game, I do think they have a chance. Here's my thing. I know the 49ers are better coached. I know that they got a better offense and defense. They can run the ball in Dallas. My question is this. If Dallas keeps it close in the fourth quarter and the 49ers need to rely on Brock Purdy to make throws as a rookie in a divisional round of playoffs, I'm not sold on that. That's where I think Dallas' advantage is going to be at the quarterback position in that situation.
Would you rather play Brock or Dak at the link in an NFC title game? Take away the fact that we'd all rather play the Cowboy defense versus the Niner defense. Niner defense is so good. Just Brock versus Dak, NFC title game at the link. Who would you rather play? Because that's a tough one for me. Because Brock's played so well, and if he makes it to the NFC title game, he's won 12 in a row. But you and I are still waiting for him to have his rookie moment. So I think he'd have it at the link. But maybe Dak would too.
Yeah, I think he would melt down at the link. I really think If they go to Philly and as a champion, it's like that's a buzzsaw, man. You don't want. I think Dak is more equipped to handle it. What is this kid going to do if he throws an early turnover at the link? Like he's a rookie. To me, if you look at the game, the first half of that Seattle game
wasn't that good.
They were in it. It was like Seattle just quit after the Geno Smith fumbled. They quit. But I want to see Purdy when he has to make throws. Like he's got these big leads. He's managing. They're scoring points. What if it's the fourth quarter and you're down 4, you're up 4, you're 3, and that's when I want to see what he can do. I think Dallas has a great chance to win. Unfortunately, or fortunately, I don't know. I go back and forth. Do I really want Dallas in the championship game? I do, because I would love to beat them, but I don't want to deal with the Cowboy fans all week leading up to it.
That's fair. I think you made a great point about not being surprised that they beat the Bucks. There hasn't been a surprise playoff game at all so far, besides, I guess you can say, the Jaguars. Now, the Bills game was closer than it should have been. But besides the Jaguars beating the Chargers, everything else has gone. I mean, Baltimore was not going to win. We know that. The Dolphins were not going to win. They played well, though, and they could have won with Tua, but obviously didn't have Tua. The Bucks were not going to win. Even if Brady doesn't throw a pick in the end zone like an idiot, they probably still lose that game. Everyone said the Vikings were going to lose. That was the hot pick of the entire postseason. And Seattle did what we thought Seattle would do, right? They looked okay early. They could have had a couple of picks against Brock Purdy. They dropped them. And then they got blown out in the second half. There's not been a shock so far. And you can make an argument that there won't be another shock. I think Philly will roll the Giants. I say 31-17 all week long. You should probably expect the Niners to win, but that's probably the closest game of the weekend. We all love Dougie P. There's no way the Jaguars go to the Chiefs and win. That would be one of the most impressive playoff wins in recent history. Probably going back to when the Jaguars went to Heinz Field and beat the Steelers in 2017 with Leonard Fournette. Right. That was also impressive. And I really think the Bengals are going to roll the Bills. I think.
Do you really?
Wow. I think so. I think the DeMar Hamlin injury, and again, not to take anything away from the DeMar Hamlin injury, but that was going to be the night where the Bills were going to get really exposed. I think the Bengals are a lot better than Buffalo. I think they were about to roll the Bills in Cincinnati. The Hamlin injury happens. Obviously, they canceled the game for a reason. I think the Buffalo Bills are just too reckless on offense with Josh Allen. They can't run the football, and the defense isn't that good. I mean, their defensive line is good, but overall, to me, the defense is not that good. I think Buffalo loses by probably 10 plus. I really think the Bengals are winning that game.
In Buffalo,
I really do.
Wow,
I really do.
I think that would shock me, because I thought that may be the closest game all week. Like that was the one I was like, I want to see this game. Like, but wow, that's something. But you're right though about Josh Allen. He's too reckless with the ball. He does. And then he comes back, and it's like, dude, this guy's got such a cannon. Like, he's got such a beautiful arm. It's ridiculous. Like,
he's great.
It's like one play, 45 yards downfield on the button, and then he throws us, then something stupid. But you're right. He does turn over the ball. That would be shocking.
It does feel like Buffalo has all the pressure here, too. One, they're at home, and you already mentioned that. Yeah. And two, this whole idea they have to play the Chiefs again. You have to have the playoff rematch. Is very much alive. Right. The Bengals have playing 3 backup offensive linemen. The Bengals could lose this game, and you go, hey, we're banged up. Happy to be here. This is fine. If Buffalo loses again and doesn't make it to another AFC title game, and with all the talent that they had, I mean, it's really rough. To me, Buffalo is the one team to watch out for in the first round of the draft to go up and get Bijan Robinson, because they got to fix their running game. And I'm not a running back first-round guy. You're not a running back first-round guy. We both like Bijan Robinson, though. If you're Buffalo, you have receivers. You have Josh Allen. The offensive line is fine. They have pass rushers. They're pretty good at linebacker. They make a case they could use a corner. But I would go get Bijan Robinson, because it feels like at times they need to ice these games away. They're up against the Dolphins. They can't run the football. James Cook and Singletary just aren't cutting it. They're like, it's like having 2 Kenneth Gainwells out there. They're third down, small usage backs, and they're getting all these carries. They need a real bell cow. I would go get Bijan Robinson if I was the Bills. These are all going to be good games. Like, I'm not saying they're not. I just think Cincinnati's really good. I think Joe Burrow is an absolute monster. I think he's so scary. He's so good.
He's
it's
a great
unbelievable.
Player. That's such an interesting pick. I can't. I think it's gonna be a fascinating game to watch. You might be right, because the Bills did not impress me last week at all.
Yeah, you can make the case that if Waddle catches a couple of those passes, then You're at
Oh
a point
man,
where
he
Miami wins
dropped.
that football game. So
Yeah,
many. And Waddle's
yeah,
good. I like Waddle, but
I
it was
do too.
rough. Do you think Jacksonville has any sort of chance? I kind of glossed over them saying they have no chance. At Arrowhead,
I
Andy Reid. I know it's Doug Peterson, and we love Doug Peterson, and he called a heck of a second half against
no,
the Chargers, but
we did.
I don't see it happening. I just don't see it happening.
I feel like it's going to be hard to beat the Chiefs, and I know this may sound wrong, but when you come back such an emotional game like that, like how do you get back down, especially a young team that doesn't even belong? Think that didn't expect to go this far, really.
Yeah.
I don't know. I think it's kind of hard for them to win that game. I do, and to be honest, I think Kansas City's the one team out of AFC that really scares me. Like that's the one team I'm not sure that I feel like that's the one. If I don't want to see them, if I could avoid seeing them in the Super Bowl, I'd be happy. At the same time, I would love the matchup, but I think like the Eagles match up really good against Buffalo.
I think
Or
they do too.
Cincinnati. I think they would match up really good against those two teams.
Really well said. Yeah, I think that you could really try to lock down Diggs and really try to force Josh Allen to throw a couple picks and blow that game wide open really quick.
Right.
Really quick.
And you could get to Josh Allen. He'll turn the ball over. And then Burrow, with that offensive line beat up, I think the Eagles could take advantage of that too. Mahomes and the Chiefs, that's a different animal, man. It is.
And Andy Reid playing against the Eagles for a Super Bowl would be a really fun matchup, but a good storyline. Les Grossman, brother of Rex Grossman, maybe says $5 super chat. Appreciate that. I feel like the Jags and Chiefs will be a shootout. Dougie P will cook up some plays like Philly again. His play call on 4th down and 1, when they looked like they were going to go for the quarterback sneak and then handed the football and ran around the outside. Yeah. Loved it. That screamed to me that he's been watching what Jalen Hurts and the Eagles are doing and went, this is how I would improve it a little bit better. And finally got to call that play. I love the guy. And I was rooting for him so hard to win that game.
I thought that was huge too, because I don't know, like, you could feel like I felt like I was streaming that game and I felt like they're not going to get this 4th down. They're not going to get this. Like I felt like they weren't, and then he called the timeout and then he changed the play, obviously. And I just thought it was a great play. I thought the Eagles should have done that a couple times. Remember a few weeks ago when they tried to have Gardner Minshew sneak it? And he couldn't go anywhere. Yeah. Like they shouldn't do that,
Yeah.
Like if you look at the Eagles when they put Hurts under there, everybody just crashes. What if he stepped back and pitched it out to Miles? I bet you get 30, 40 yards downfield.
He had that one 2-point conversion against the Bears where he kind of slid out and ran forward, but it was only for a yard. We didn't get to see what he could have actually done with it had it been long enough. A pitch out.
I would love to see them in tight like that. Snap it, take 3-4 steps back and just shuffle past it to Miles. I bet you that would work.
I'm down for it. Hopefully we don't have to use it against the Giants. Hopefully they can save it. Sirianni has something, right? Just like Doug had Philly or the Philly special ready to go. They all do, but Sirianni has something that he's either saving for Saturday night if they need it, or in the NFC title game that he's going to pull out of here. Just the whole, the coaching tree, and he just feels like they've got something really waiting that he's going to pull out there whenever they need it. It's going to be a lot of fun. We'll see.
Yeah.
Let me see here. What was the other game I wanted to mention here? We talked a little bit about San Francisco and Dallas. Dallas is in a really weird spot because if they get blown out in that football game, you could see coaches being fired, right? Like that's an interesting part. No one else is getting fired in the entire rest of the divisional round if they get blown out. 0 people. Dallas gets blown out and they lose big. Dak throws 2 picks and they look terrible. Do you bring back Mike McCarthy, who wins a lot of games but can't get past the divisional round? I don't know if I do.
I would hope they do, because like I've said before, I feel like McCarthy's underachiever. I'm sorry, he had prime Aaron Rodgers and only got 1 ring out of that.
Yeah,
I felt like he should have got more. I think it's a lot of pressure on Dallas, because I think if Dak loses, that's going to be the narrative. 7 years, he hasn't, ever gotten out of the second round of the playoffs. So I just think it's an interesting game, though, because I know a lot of people are heaping praise on Purdy, but I want to see him actually have to go out and make some throws. That's what I want to see. I feel like if you look at they lost to some bad teams this year.
They did.
They lost to the Bears, the Falcons, Who else did they lose? I think the Broncos.
Let
I
me
mean,
see
those
here.
are some garbage teams.
It's
They're
such a
garbage
weird
teams.
year for them too, right? Because Lance loses to the Bears, Garoppolo loses to the Broncos. That Falcon game, I live in Atlanta, weird game, such a weird
Yeah.
game. They get obliterated
Yeah.
by the Chiefs. You think about this great defense, they get absolutely obliterated by the Chiefs, and they had weird injuries in here, so whatever there. But then this run with Brock Purdy, man, it's something that we don't see because Brady comes in his first year, and he wasn't lighting it up like Purdy was. He was managing the game, not making mistakes, being a rookie. Purdy, for all that we talk about him, he doesn't look like a rookie. He looks good to go.
No.
And a lot of that
No.
Shanahan's offense and, blah, blah, blah. But maybe he
Right.
just has the swagger. I think if you're the 49ers and he keeps winning, you have one of the worst off seasons coming up in NFL history because what do you do with Trey Lance? Because you can't let him be a backup. And no one's going to trade for him anywhere near the compensation you traded to get up for him. But you got to roll with Purdy. It almost kind of feels like the Nick Foles situation, but they have a way bigger sample size with Purdy, whereas we had, 4 games with Nick Foles and then said, hey, let's go back to Carson Wentz.
Well, and Nick was older, too. I mean, these guys are young, and they gave up a ton. I think that, I don't know, I think you almost have to keep Trey Lance and try to build up his trade value. Even if you have to do it for 1 year, I don't know what else you can do. Nobody's going to give you what you want for him.
Yeah.
They're just not.
But then again, if Brock Purdy's, the next great NFC quarterback, then what does it matter whatever you get back for Trey Lance? You get a second-round draft pick,
that's true.
You get Purdy another weapon? I don't know.
Yeah.
Very interesting situation going on there.
I have to see Purdy. I have to see Purdy make some plays in the fourth quarter of a game before I can start saying, okay, yeah, he's the guy.
I think both of us will give him a ton of respect if he goes to Philadelphia and beats us and plays well. I will buy into Brock Purdy if that happens. But as you keep saying, the word buzzsaw.
I'll be sick. I'll be sick if that happens.
I will too. You and I have continually said the past month that he's going to start to slip up, and I keep waiting for it, and he just doesn't. Seahawks had some.
He doesn't.
They had some throws thrown to them that they could have picked off and made Purdy look a little worse than they did, but they dropped it. So
yeah,
I
think that run game and the coaches they're so good. Like will Dallas be able to keep it close in the fourth quarter? I think that's when you're going to get a true test with Purdy. If they come out, and Dallas isn't good against the run, so the 49ers theoretically should be able to run all over them. And I think if they go up early, 13-0, 14-0, I think Dallas is done.
I totally agree. And then Dak throws one pick six, and then it's like all hell breaks loose. And, you almost got to tune into 103.5 The Fan in Dallas just to hear them cry about it on the post-game show. Imagine hosting that post-game show. Whew.
Yeah.
I hosted the Falcons post-game show. Go ahead.
Oh, did you?
No,
I was just gonna say, I got a feeling I'm slightly leaning towards Dallas this game, though, because of the quarterback.
I am too.
Yeah.
I am too. I think Dallas wins. I think that they go to Philadelphia. You have probably the craziest atmosphere in the history of Eagle football because it's the NFC title game versus the Cowboys. It's probably crazy. So berserk.
Yeah.
And then if they win, it's going to be one of the greatest games ever, and we'll have a ton of fun. Then you tune into 103.5 The Fan and listen to Cowboy fans cry as they wrap up their post-game shows for opposing teams. So fun to listen to. Listen to the Fan in or WFAN in New York.
Right.
If they lose this game, it's almost more fun to listen to like an Eagles post-game show because like we all are happy. Like yay. You listen to their post-game show and it's like total misery. When I hosted the Falcons post-game show in Atlanta, was it the past 2 years? Not this year.
Mm-hmm.
It gets depressing, man, because Atlanta was losing a bunch. And you just got people calling in. It's just desperate. It's like, man, we stink. What are we going to do? And it's the same phone call every single time. Imagine that just with a playoff loss and you're a Cowboy fan. And you know how they
I just think, I mean, no disrespect to the Falcons, but, man, they got to be the biggest chokers in modern history, man.
It's really bad.
I mean, dude, some of the games that they just lose, I don't understand. I still don't understand how they didn't win the Super Bowl. I don't understand.
I know. I think Atlanta, quickly, we don't talk about Atlanta for a while. I think Atlanta goes after Lamar Jackson. I don't think that they like Desmond Ridder. I think Ridder was very meh. They had chances to start him a lot earlier. Mariota was terrible this year, and yet they waited, and then Ridder comes in, didn't play well. I think if Lamar leaves, which the Ravens said today they're not going to let him, but he can easily leave. I think the Falcons go all in.
How about
I
Washington?
hope not. I hope not.
That would be
Ugh.
interesting.
I'm worried about Garoppolo in Washington. I'm worried that Garoppolo rolls in there and plays
I can
like
see that.
Heineke, but way better. And their roster is really good. I think Washington.
Yeah.
But the problem that Washington has is what's the selling point there, right? You get to you have a terrible owner, a terrible organization, the worst stadium in football, the worst field.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just like they've done nothing for all these years. I mean, their one good year was the RG3 year. That was it.
Yeah.
And Heineke
And
played well,
and they destroyed him.
And they destroyed him. Yeah, I just don't think that the draw there, unless they throw a ton of money out, makes a lot of sense. If I'm Lamar, Baltimore makes some sense. But if you're in Baltimore, you got to play Joe Burrow twice a year, and Mike Tomlin. Whereas you can 100% go to the NFC South. There's nobody there. And Atlanta's roster with you in it and some draft picks could be pretty good. And they tried for Deshaun Watson, and they were this close to getting him. They were this close to getting to Deshaun Watson until Cleveland said fully guaranteed, or he was going to go to Atlanta. But we'll see. We'll see. All right, we'll go like 5 more minutes. Then we'll let you go. A couple more questions. Anyone want to ask any more questions? It's really fun to go ahead and get one more of these live shows before the playoff game.
Absolutely,
It's
Thank
always
you
fun
for having me on.
What's going to happen? Of course. Let's see here. Falcons and Chargers are related. Yeah, the Chargers are rough, man. The Chargers are really rough. Yeah, Herbert's great.
They
the fact they blew that game, bad.
They choked, and then they choked the year before. They had the Raiders, right? All they needed was a tie. Raiders were so content to let the clock run out, and they blew it. They called a timeout, which made no sense, and the Raiders wound up winning that game. Dog outside, I don't know.
What kind of dog is it?
I think it's a German Shepherd, but I don't know. But
it's not yours.
Somehow, it's not my dog. No,
it's someone else's dog.
Somebody outside. Yeah.
There you go. Will AJ Brown have a 100-yard game? I was watching. What was I watching? ESPN today, I think. Dan Orlovsky does a great job, and he's kind of like a closet Eagle fan. His wife loves the Eagles. He said that this could be the Devontae Smith game because they're going to do everything they can to make sure AJ Brown doesn't beat you. So AJ could go for 100 plus, but Devontae Smith could just absolutely light this defense up.
I mean, over the last 6 weeks, Devontae Smith has arguably been as good as AJ Brown. If you look at their statistics, almost identical. I think Devontae's gonna have a big game. I do. I think Miles is gonna have a big. I think it's gonna be a Miles Sanders game.
You think so?
I really do.
It'd be nice if it was. They haven't seemed to. They haven't really relied on him recently. It'd be fun to see. He had 25 carries.
He had a tweaked knee at the end of the year, and he could have played, but I think they were resting him. I think that's why he was limited. So I think we're gonna get a big dose of Miles Sanders.
Okay, I like that. I like that a lot. Philly, that dog always putting his 2 cents in on your videos.
Dog comes out at the weirdest times and just like it hears me and starts barking.
My old roommate had a German Shepherd. Those things, you either get like a really good German Shepherd that's like very nice and like a really good dog, or you get like the worst dog ever, and it's a total gamble. So you're trying to get a German Shepherd, you're rolling the dice, man. It's a total gamble. I see Goddard going off on the screenplays. The little tight end screen to Goddard. We haven't seen that in forever.
I like that.
That could be a big one. That could be a really, really good one.
Yeah.
For a team that has been terrible with screens over the past couple of years, especially when they try to force it to Reagor all those plays. Yeah. Goddard does a great job.
Yeah.
Really good job.
I think the Eagles have to come out and they have to score points. Like I think they need to score early, get up on the Giants early. Like you can't give this team confidence and let them hang around. That's the worst thing that can happen.
My dog is going crazy. She hears your dog. That's funny. Both dogs going back at it. I'll say this, and we can go ahead and end with this. I think Hurts looks like MVP Hurts. I think this is the great equalizer in this game that everyone's so worried about. Jalen Hurts being 80% and his shoulder's so hurt. He's not going to be able to throw the football. The fact he played an entire game in week 18 and got the rust off, right? First off, he's had 2+ weeks to go ahead and get even healthier. He's a full participant in practice. He's throwing the football. I think Hurts looks like MVP Hurts, and I think Philly blows him out. I really do. I'll be surprised if they don't. I'll be shocked if they lose. I think Hurts throws 3 touchdowns, maybe runs for 1, and this game is over a lot quicker than people realize. A lot quicker.
That would be the best case scenario because I don't want to lose years off my life with sweating this game out. I think it's going to be a close game. I think, unfortunately, I feel like Giants, Eagles, typical. It's going to be typical Eagle-Giant game. It's going to come down to the fourth quarter, and then the Eagles will put them away, like always. I think that's what's going to happen.
Quickly, Donnell says 49ers, us, and Bengals have best rosters left in the NFL. Do you agree? You got to take Cincinnati out because of the offensive line. 49ers, us, and you'd probably slide the Chiefs in there. I mean,
I got to put the Chiefs in.
They're all good rosters, but yeah, you got to get the Chiefs in there.
I mean, you look at what Mahomes did. He lost Tyreek Hill this year, and he still put up crazy numbers. Chiefs are good.
I totally agree. All right, man. Listen, we're going to let you go. We're going to let you go ahead and enjoy the rest of your evening.
Awesome.
Long day of work. Always appreciate you coming on, and we'll see.
Yeah,
hey, listen, we can do it again next week. We'll try and get Joey on for that one if they advance, and if not, then it's draft time, and we'll just start getting ready for the draft in our months of depression. What are you going to do? So, all right, man. I appreciate it. Everybody, enjoy the rest of your day, and we'll see what happens on Saturday.
Peace.
See you.